Today is all about OAuth 2.0, more specifically Google Authentication, and how we can implement Google Authentication into your web applications. By the end of today, you're going to have a great understanding of user authentication with SQL Alchemy, and we're going to build on your existing knowledge and learn how you can implement OAuth Google Authentication into your web apps. If you're ready, I'm more than ready. Let's dive into the episode. Hey guys, it's me. For obvious reasons, I'm Josh. It'd be weird if I wasn't, right? Because this is Code with Josh. I'm stoked to have you guys back for another episode. Real quick before I dive in, help me out. Click that like button and subscribe, as today's video is all about teaching you guys OAuth, this module which we can use for authentication. More specifically, Google Authentication, LinkedIn, Facebook, GitHub, you name it, OAuth can implement this into your applications. Guys, I'm really excited as this episode builds on our previous Flask episodes, as I introduce you guys to user authentication with SQL Alchemy. This is for any web platform, right? You create a username and a login, but we want to expand on this because most sites don't just have basic user authentication. This is where today's episode comes in. Okay, guys, real quick, in case you missed last week's episode or you don't want to go through it, all right, I'm going to link the starting source code for you guys in the description below. Head on down and get that source code that you can use and join in today and code with me as we go through the episode. A few other things here, right? Use the timestamps below. Okay, so if you don't like a part or you already know this part, use the timestamps. I've put them there specifically to help you guys out. All right, and I need your help. All right, I've been using in all my previous content my favorite theme, Synthwave 84. Today's episode, I've changed the theme because I've heard from some of you guys that it's a little bit hard to read. So I'm hoping this new theme is easier to read, okay? And I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop me a comment, okay? What is easiest for you guys to read? Because I make this content to help you guys. I want you to be able to follow along. And guys, you can get my free Python newsletter, all right? I'm gonna link that here. Now, most of it is free. I send out weekly content. I have a weekly free article and a weekly podcast, but you can join my premium content. That really does help me because that's all the paid stuff I really have available for you guys, and it shows you care. That is your support for me, all right? So my newsletter is going to be linked below. I have monthly in-depth breakdown projects called Project X, as well as other long-form content that breaks down all this advanced stuff to help you guys grow in your Python journey. Wow. All right, guys, let's dive into why you're all here. Google Authentication, OAuth. Let's get it. All right, Python crew. So here I am in last week's project, and this is where we're building out and adding in the Google authorization step. If you missed this project and how I got to this stage, I want you guys to pause. All right, I'm going to link the video here. And I want you to head back and take a look. I'm going to go through part of this just so you guys get a refresh and a recap to understand, and I will run this code. So what I have here is basic user authentication, all right? And all we're doing for user authentication is I'm using SQL Alchemy, all right? And I'm creating a user model. This model represents a single row in our database. And this is going to have an ID, which is unique for each person, a username, and a password. Okay, you can see here my structure. I have an index page, which is our landing page. Once the user logs in, they are going to be taken to the dashboard, which is going to be unique for that user. All right, so if I enter Josh, I'm going to get Josh back. All right, and then down below we have all of our routes just to register a new user, okay? I have the ability to log in, which checks if we even have a user object to begin with, and then we use the check password to confirm it's the same password within our database, usersDB. Okay. In doing so, I actually made two methods. I have set password and check password. Right? So these are using our security methods we imported to basically generate a new hash, and this is going to return a Boolean. Does the password we enter match the password stored in the database? All right, very cool. Let me run this for you guys, okay? Okay, so building on last week, this is what we got done, all right? So right here, if I say Josh, okay, and I enter a password like 1234, and I click login, I don't have that. So I'm still left here on the page. But now if I try and I say, Josh, let's register me as a user. When I click register, I register myself within my SQL Alchemy database. And this is our dashboard landing page. So this is unique for each of your users who logs in. All right. And when I log out here, you can see that I'm taken back to our home screen. Okay, once again, now that I already have an account, I can use the same information to now log in. And I return to the same dashboard for me. All right. If we go through and we create one called Billy Bob, and we make the password pizza. Why would it be that? No idea. Register Billy Bob, and you can see that he is now getting his unique dashboard. This is where we're going to build from. We're going to expand on this, adding Google authorization. Let's dive into how we can do that. I'm going to log out. I'm going to close this. All right, let's shut down the terminal. Let's kill it off. Okay, so the first step to getting started is I'm going to fire up our terminal again. Okay, let's just cut where I was at. And in this terminal, we need to pip install a few lines here. So really, I'm going to run pip3. We are going to install, I'm going to install auth_lib as well as Flask-OAuth_lib. You can run that. I already have this installed. Okay. Let it do its thing, all right, just so we can get OAuth in here, right? And remember, I'm teaching you guys Google today, but you can use any of your favorite social networks here. Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, GitHub, right? Think about what you want to put inside your projects. Now that we have this installed, I can close this, all right? And I'm going to go up top here, and we're simply going to import this. We are going to go from auth_lib. Let's see if we have it. There we go. .integrations. All right. I want to tap into integrations and more specifically our Flask client. And we're going to import here OAuth. Okay. That's what we're going to be working with today. So I'm going to mark in that we have OAuth that we are going to build this out from. Now that I have OAuth, I'm going to come down here, maybe just before my user class. All right, and I'm going to create an object called OAuth, if we can spell that correctly, and this is just going to be using that import. Now, in order to construct an authorization for Google or an outside network, what do I want to build this from? So I'm going to pass my app, our Flask app, into our OAuth. All right, so now that we have our OAuth right here. Okay, so to now really build this out, I'm going to create one for Google. Okay, and Google is going to be built from that object. And what I want to do is I want to register. Okay, now inside register, you can see it's giving us the information. I have a name, overwrite, all right, but it's a bunch of keyword arguments that we want to give. All right. Now, I am going to show you guys here how to set up your Google console to get to this stage. Okay. So for the time being, I'm going to leave this blank. Okay. I am going to create one additional Python file. I'm going to call this API key.py. I'm going to bring that outside. That ended up in my database folder. Okay. Now, all the keys that I create here today, I'm going to keep secret. Okay, so for example, I'm going to be having a client ID, okay, as well as a client secret. And I'm going to paste these in here once we get these from Google, all right? Now, speaking of that, let's head over into Google and actually capture those. Okay, so just head over and fire up Google. Okay, I'm going to type in here Google Cloud Console. Okay, that's what we want here. Now, I'm going to be entering some personal information. Anything that's personal, I'm going to blur out, all right? But I'm going to guide you guys through this. We can go down here, okay? console.cloud.google. This is the one I'm looking for right here. All right, so let's click on that. Let's load this up.
Okay, now you can see I'm already in a Flask app here. All right, so you guys can head up top here. You should be able to click this drop down, and I want you to click New Project. All right, so ideally you're starting a new project here. I'm going to call this one Flask. I'm still in caps. Flask, let's do YouTube tutorial. Okay, you do not need to put a location for organization. Okay, you can just put your project name and click create. Okay, now that it's done its thing, it's up here, it's creating this project. Let's let it create the project, and then we can click select project. We want to go into that project. And you can see my dashboard has now changed. So you're working in Flask YouTube tutorial. All right, this is great. The next thing we're going to do is you can head up to the navigation bar. Okay, we're going to head down to library. So under API and services, over in library. Okay, and this is where we're going to activate the Google Plus API. We're going to get a bunch of options here. Okay, so all of these are just these packages that we can install on. If you scroll down, you can search it here. I'm going to scroll down and look for This is the one. Google Plus API. The Google Plus API enables devs to build on top of the Google Plus platform. This is what we want for login. You can click on this, and all we really need to do here is click enable. Okay, so enable this API. Okay, it should do its thing. Okay, not much happening here. Once it's enabled, I'm going to go back to the home screen. Okay, cool. So it's done its thing. Okay. We have enabled it. All right. So now over here, I can stay in this toolbar actually. And now that we've done that, I'm going to go over here to OAuth consent screen. Okay. This is our next step. Okay. So inside here, I want you guys to follow these steps. What we're going to do is click external. Okay. Because we're going to be logging in from our external page. I'm going to create this. Okay. Now only mark what it's telling you to. Okay, so I'm gonna close that. So give the app a name, right? So YouTube Auth app. Okay, I'm gonna enter my support email. So put, any of your Google emails here is fine. Okay, scrolling down, we do not need an app logo. We need an app domain. Nope, gonna skip that. Okay. And then creating the final developer contact one. Okay, you're also just going to put your email here. And then we can click save and continue. So we have this all set up. Scopes, we can click save and continue here at the bottom. Okay, test users. Now, we are in development mode. So if you log in with Google, okay, you can enter all the emails that are going to have permission. So I recommend entering your email here, okay, and any other email. So I'm going to put 2 emails. I'm going to put the one I've been using for today here, okay, enter as one. And then I'm going to put another one that you guys are going to be able to see after we log in here. Okay, so you could put up to 100, all right, and then just click add. And then we're going to click save and continue. Boom, this is our summary. Okay, everything is done. I'm going to go back to our dashboard. We do need to create credentials for this. Okay, so under the API and services, we can click on credentials. And up top here, click create credentials. Okay, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be creating our auth client ID. That's the second option here. Okay, application type, it is a web application. We're on Flask. The name, I'm just going to leave this here. Okay, if you want to rename this, feel free to. All right. Additionally, the other thing we need to add is our URI. So where are we going to redirect after we log in? And I'm going to put your local host. So ideally, right, we're in the development environment, local host, and then we're going to do authorize Google. Okay. And then we can just click create. So you can see this page pops up. I have blurred out my client ID and my client secret. You're going to get these, all right. But we want to copy these, and you need to paste them as the value inside your API key file that I originally created. All right, so I'm going to do that now. So copy, and I'll see you guys. Okay, so I'm going to head back here, and I'm going to paste these in. So I've pasted those in our API key file. Okay, I'm gonna import that file here at the top. Okay, so from API key, import both. All right, now we're pretty much good to start building out our Google registry here. All right, so I'm gonna go down, all right, and let's build this out. So inside register, we're gonna give a bunch of kwargs here. Okay, one of them is going to be the name. Hey guys, can you tell me, what do you think of my theme, right? If you're coming from the previous episode, I was using Synthwave 84, and I know some of you guys commented it's a bit dark. Now I'm using one Monakai. Is this a better theme? All right, drop in the comments and let me know which one you guys prefer so I can stick with that for you guys. Now, the name of this is just gonna be Google, okay? Our next up is we're going to give in here our client ID, right? So when it's time for deployment, okay, this should be an environmental variable. Currently, mine is not in an environmental variable because we're here in development mode. I don't want secret for that. I want the ID, all right? Our other one is going to be our client secret. This is going to be equal to, I imported these, right? Cool. We are going to give two more here. The other one we're going to give is server metadata URI. I'm going to link the documentation for this below, okay? And I'm going to drop in here the URL that they provide. And then finally, we are going to give one more here, which is going to be our client kwargs. Okay, client kwargs is going to be equal to a dictionary, and we're going to give it the scope. And we are going to give it the open ID profile email. Okay, just like so. All right, so this is Google working for us. Technically, our OAuth is done. We need to implement a route for Google at this step. Okay, so OAuth is all set up, but remember, it's only for Google, right? We would take the same ideal steps for we could take the same or like the rough same steps for LinkedIn or GitHub, although you will need to read the GitHub and LinkedIn documentation for this. This is just for Google. Okay, I'm going to go down now at the bottom of my roots. So I'm going to mark these. I have home, I have login. We have the ability to register. We have dashboard and log out. Let's go under log out. So I'm going to create a lot of space here. Let's keep us on track. Okay, so I'm at the bottom. We need to basically create a login for Google. And additionally, we are going to need to create some kind of a authorize for Google. Okay, let's start with the login. So I'm going to create a new root here. So app.root. And what do we want this to be? So this is going to be login/Google. All right, oops, forgot my starting login there to build off of our homepage. Okay, and we're gonna call this, let's just literally call it login Google. Awesome, so we have this. Really what I want to do is I'm gonna try to do something, right? Because you could think of endless errors that could happen, right? That could be triggered. So let's try to redirect the URI, all right? And I'm gonna say here, this is gonna be a URL for, right? And this is going to be to authorize our user. And I'm going to give it one more kwargs of external. And this is because there's going to be a Google pop-up window which pops up. That's not a part of our Flask app. That's an external window that's going to pop up to authorize this. And this is going to return something. This is going to return Google. This is the OAuth object we made. And I'm going to say authorize redirect. Now inside here, we can just put what we just made, redirect URI. Let's make our exception. So accept exception as E, all right. Within our log, let's just say app.logger.error. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna put here, let's just say like error during login. And then I can also just return here error occurred during login, and we'll give it the 500 code. Okay, so this is going to try to log us in, all right? We do need to create one additional route now, which is going to send, when the login is successful, we want to send the information off to our database, okay? So let's create a final route here. So app.root, and I'm going to call this one authorize Google. Okay, and we can make this, and we're just literally going to call it authorize Google. Okay, I had this below. Let me just move this for you guys. Boom. Okay, so we are going to create a few things. I'm going to create a token. I'm going to create a user info endpoint. This will be an endpoint for our data. We are going to create a response from that. We will have user info, and we're going to have a user name. Let's start with our token. So to get the token, we can say Google, this is our object dot authorize access token. This is a method. All right, so I'm going to call that. Our user endpoint. Okay, let's take our object of Google, and let's say server metadata. I'm going to index that, and we are just going to say, I'm going to copy this because I do want the user info endpoint. That is the index. Okay, there we go. What is the response that we get? Okay, and this response is going to be Google, I would like to get. Okay, we're going to get an HTTP request response here. And this will be our user info endpoint. Okay. The information from the user that we get back, we are going to create and convert that to a JSON format so we can scan through that, right? And then now that we have a format that Python can understand, this is essentially a dictionary, it's in JSON format, we are going to tap into user info, okay, dictionary, that's the name of the dictionary, the JSON file, and we need to access the value. So dictionary key unlocks the value. The key will be the email the person tried to use to log in. Okay, we're pretty much ready to go. We have the data we need to create a new user in our database. So let's create a user object. And remember, we have a class that we built. This is our model. It is our SQL Alchemy class model. So I'm going to tap into user, and we are going to do query.filter by. Am I going to get filter by as a pop-up? No. I'm going to say username is equal to our username that we give it, which is this one right here. Okay, and we are going to sort those by first. Cool. So if the user is not blank, right? So if we do indeed have a user, then we can, we are creating a new user, okay? Like we're basically checking. And if not user, so if this is not true, it means we kind of have that. So I'm going to create that object, and inside there, I'm going to say again, username is equal to username. Now that we have that, we can take our database, we can tap into our current session, and we can add this user to our database. Remember, once we add, we need to commit that, just like so. Okay, we're pretty much there, guys. So we've authorized Google, okay? Now that we're inside of our session, remember, I want you to just view a session as like, it's almost like a list. Everyone's going to have their own unique session, but really it's like a dictionary. So I'm going to tap into my session, and our username is just equal to our username, okay? I am going to create a authorization, so a session for our OAuth, let's call it our OAuth token. And we're going to use this to store our token, which we generated up here. Okay. Finally, I'm going to return a redirect. Where am I going to redirect the user to? Well, it's going to lead them to the dashboard route. Okay. This is great. Guys, do me a favor. If you're here this far, drop me a like button. That really does help me and my videos in the YouTube algorithm. If you're enjoying this kind of content, subscribe. I got weekly content coming out for you guys. Now, this dashboard is referring to our dashboard URL right here. All right. The real final test to check it is we do need to add inside index, we need to add a new input, okay? Because we currently don't have one for Google, right? So let's add an input in here. Okay, so this is going to be type of a button. Okay, this is going to be a class. I'm going to use the classes the other button has. has, but I'm also going to say like login Google as a unique class that I can use to customize it with. What is this going to be? Value, I'll be like login with Google. And then ideally, down here, right, I have my JavaScript. I'm going to add a JavaScript in here as well. I'm going to say onClick is equal to our window.location.href. So what's the href going to be? This is going to be a string. And inside here, we're going to put some Jinja. There we go. So I'm going to say URL for, okay, what is this a URL for? Well, for our route login Google. Okay, so it's going to refer to, if we go down here, right here, our login Google. Okay, so really this should work. Let's run it. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my app file. Okay, I'm going to close API key. It's not needed. Cool. So I'm gonna run the app, and we can debug if we have to. Hopefully not too much. Let's run our code. All right. I'm gonna open up our ports. You know, I actually foresee something right now that I'm gonna have to double check. You can see this is not my local host. I think I set up the console to be localhost. Let's try to log. Okay, so we get an error right off the bat. That's okay. Error in the app. Error during login. Could not build authorize. Oh, okay. So this is a quick fix. I'm trying to call this, but I said authorize. So inside here, we need to put the name of the route, which in my case is authorize Google. While I'm here, let me double check now. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to return to Google Console, Cloud Console. And I'm just going to double check my URI endpoint. I think I put localhost. We want to put, you can see up top here, it's 127. Let's go to console, API and services. Come down here to credentials, into our web client. Okay, yeah, okay. So I put localhost. I'm going to keep it. It's fine for now. I'm going to add the other one, which is ours up here, and I want to authorize Google. This is the route that's going to authorize it. Now, this could take up to 5 minutes. I'm going to click save. Okay, so this URL, authorize Google, right? That's this right here. Okay, this is what's doing the job for us. And since I'm here, I'm just going to do another check to make sure everything's set. Okay. We took care of this, and so this is the URL for this route here. Okay, I updated the URI inside Google Console. That's fine. This is set up, looks right. Our model has our ID, username. Let's change this to. My password hash, I said nullable is false, which means for user authentication, if a user creates a new account, they must have a password. But if they log in with Google, I'm actually going to say true, because Google is the authentication route for that. Okay, let's give this one more run. Fingers crossed. All right, fingers crossed we can log in this time. There we go. So I'm going to close out the first one. Okay, let's log in with Google. Look at that. Okay, here's our page. You can see one of my emails here. If you want to email, you can. Google actually locked me out of this, so I have no access to it ever again. I'm going to use this for our testing today. So if I click in here with this email, we're taken to this page, and you can see this is the app we built in the back end of Google Console. I'm going to click continue, and look at that. Welcome, this is your Google account. Remember, this is only going to work for the emails that you add to the Google Console because we're in development mode. But I'm logged in with this. This is amazing. I can log out. If you are having an issue, guys, okay, one error that's common is an integrity error. All right, if you get an integrity error and you cannot get past this, all right, I want you guys to actually delete the whole database. Okay, so right click, delete the database, run your app again, okay? Because after we change this to nullable true, our database needs to be reconfigured, okay? So if you're having an integrity error, just delete the database at this stage, try again, and that should resolve your errors for you, okay? So I was at this stage. The last bit of styling is I'll just style this button to have the other effects the other ones do. Okay, so if we open up my Sass file here, I'll just kill the terminal. Let's go all the way to the bottom here. I'm going to add one for our Google button. So here is our parent Google. Remember, I'm doing Sass. We have our login, register, log out. Let's just say, and what was the name of that? Login Google. So I'm going to say here, login Google. Okay, let's give this a background color of something kind of Googlish. I'll say color is coral. Okay, I'm going to say here color is FFF. All right, that's the color of the text. And then additionally inside here, I'm going to say and when on hover. So and when it's on a hover, we are going to change the background color to slightly different. Let's, I have a color here. This is just a different shade of that to give it that hover effect. Now, if you're coming from the last episode, then you already have Sass set up, okay, which you should be. At least you can get the source code from the last episode, all right? I included that in the links below. But in order to get Sass going right, I put the instructions in the description below. Just click Watch Sass at this stage. This will put the Sass into our CSS file. When we go into our terminal, I'm going to run my app as the final check. But everything should be running just how we want it to. Yeah, look at that. Okay, this looks way better, guys. Okay, so if I log in with Google, the same actions occur. Voila. Amazing, guys. Look at that. We now have interactivity with Google, and of course, you can still create a user the standard way by registering, and it still is going to have that in the database. So now you're giving options to your users. Are they going to go the standard route, or are they going to use OAuth to log in a more secure way? That's up to you guys.
There you have it, guys. I hope today's episode broke everything down as we took our existing user authentication resources and we built on them, implementing OAuth, Google Authentication. Now remember, it's not just about Google. You can implement other social media platforms. And what does this do? This enhances the security for your users. Okay, so you can implement LinkedIn, Facebook, GitHub, you name it, but check out their documentation, right? We can use OAuth, but each platform is going to have slightly different documentation. And I guided you through the Google setup today. Okay, so have a read. Let me know your thoughts on today's episode. I would love to hear it. And remember, guys, show your support, okay? Please click that like button, all right? Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I have weekly content coming out to help you guys grow. And remember, if you're interested, my newsletter, come join the crew, the Nerd Nook. I'm going to link that below, okay? I have weekly, no, it's almost daily content coming out on the Nerd Nook to break it down. Okay, I've been having a lot of fun writing these, and I hope you can see that in my writing. Well, guys, until next time on Code with Josh, I will see you guys then.